100% back as a free bet on any losses. You always get more with Betway. Regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. No under 18. Terms and conditions apply. Betway. Get way more.
City 97.3. Accra.
Detailed news, unparalleled coverage. City News on 97.3 FM.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
City News.
It's 17:30 GMT. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. I am Umaru Sanda Amadu. Tonight, I'm here with
Ajwa Tinkrama Domina.
And coming up over the next 90 minutes.
Last week when we met you, we gave you a target of 52% of the 1,350,000 people who qualify. And currently, we've done 667,300 or so. That's almost 90% of the target we set for ourselves. So what this indicates is that by the close of the registration today, we are going to exceed our target. And this year is not even a general elections year. We don't have general elections.
Electoral Commission records 600,000 new names on Ghana's electoral roll, representing 80% of the target it had set before the exercise. Tonight, we'll be asking critics of the electoral management body what assessments they have so far. Also coming up, and still related to the EC, a group of CSOs has renewed a call that it's been making for the removal of 2 commissioners deemed aligned to the New Patriotic Party. And later on Eyewitness News, Ghana and Burkina Faso authorities, and I'm referring to security agencies, in a collaborative pursuit of suspected terrorists currently hiding somewhere in Ghana's Upper West region. Stay with 97.3 Citi FM for more on this and many other stories on Eyewitness News. And in business,
Clamped down by Data Protection Commission leads to the arrest of 5 business executives over data privacy violations.
That's in 15 minutes from the City Business Desk. Eyewitness News is live across Ghana on a number of affiliate stations and across the globe on citynewsroom.com. Later on Point Blank, we hear from the minority side in Parliament, which is asking the government to save the National Investment Bank, NIB, from liquidation by restructuring its balance sheet. The minority group alleges that there's a plan to hand over the NIB Bank to the Agricultural Development Bank. We have the Member of Parliament who is ranking on the Committee of Finance, Isaac Adongo, on Point Blank tonight. If you want to know how to listen to Eyewitness News outside Accra, let me give you a list of radio stations. In the Upper West region, which we'll be going to, we are on Bugli 88.6 FM in Wa. In Upper East, we are on Word 88.3 FM in Zuarungu. In Northern region, we are on Dasuma 99.1 FM in Yendi. In Volta region, we are on Holy 98.5 FM in Aflau. In Eastern region, we are on Right 90.1 FM in Somanya. In Ashanti region, we are on Orange 107.9 FM in Kumasi. In Bono region, we are on Greener 95.9 FM in Sunyani. In Western region, we are on Premier 100.5 FM, Beach 105.5 FM, and Sky Power 93.5 FM, all of them based in Takrady. We are on the website, citynewsroom.com. We are on Facebook and we are on YouTube. And of course, we are interactive on WhatsApp, 0549 986 996, 0549 986 996. Go to Twitter, now known as X, and send me your messages using the hashtag City Newsroom. Let's settle for details of our stories now. And the first one has to do with the Electoral Commission.
So the Electoral Commission has made a strong case for the use of the Ghana card as the sole document for identification for purposes of voter registration. The Commission says instances of minors and foreigners taking advantage of the guarantor system being used in the ongoing limited voter registration supports the need for the use of a document that will make it easy to determine the ages and nationality of the applicants. At a press conference, the deputy chairperson of the commission, Dr. Bosman Asare, urged all stakeholders, including Parliament, to support the new constitutional instrument to abolish the guarantor system.
Somebody was asked whether the exercise has been very, very successful. Last week, when we met you, we gave you a target of 52% of the 1,350,000 people who qualify. And currently, we've done 667,300 or so. That's almost 90% of the target we set for ourselves. So what this indicates is that by the close of the registration today, we are going to exceed our target. And this year is not even a general elections year. We don't have general elections. So as far as the commission is concerned, we are fully convinced and persuaded that we have been very, very successful. And we are on track to probably get to 800,000, 900,000. We still have 5 more days to go. So I think that's the issue. Please, wherever our offices are not located on the ground floor registration, they come down to register people. So if there are people with disabilities, automatically they've been told that you have to come down and register them. And nationwide, we have about 5 or 6 offices where they are not using the ground floor. They are supposed, they are required. So please, if you encounter somebody who had a disability with a problem, that's not the standard practice. We don't do that. They are supposed to come down to attend to all of them. I think there was a question of whether the EC would take its chances with the CI. Yeah, I think as Mr. Hansen Ajimai, as you pointed out, it's in the Constitution, Article 11, I think Article 11.7, that when it comes to laying of CI, the EC is supposed to test majority. But I think the EC, our job is, we don't work for ourselves. Our objective is to let's come together and let's build a system that all Ghanaians will be proud of. So we are not saying by hook or crook, but what the commission is saying, we want to work with Parliament, the media, the civil society, so that all of us will understand that the level we've gotten to as a country, we need a system that is very, very robust. So the EC, we are very convinced that with the work that the NIA has begun, very soon, maybe before the end of the year, all those who qualify to get the card would have gotten and will be able to lay the CI next year. I think that the question of overflogging the issue of, is it the challenge system or the guarantor? The minus. And please, you know, the beauty about democracy, do you remember in 2008, the presidential election was won with how many votes? Think about 40,000 something. So let's be very clear. If every polling station, we get 2 people who are not qualified to be on the register. Now we are doing 38,622 polling stations qualified. They get on the voters register at each polling station. How many people are we looking at? Do you know some parliamentary elections are won with some 5 votes? I think we've had even 3 votes. We've had that. So if we make that mistake, and what the Electoral Commission, what we are doing is that this is political party neutral. Let's ensure that all of us have a system that is credible. That's what the Electoral Commission is only saying. So, Mr. Asante, I think all of you, the media, you are going to support us to ensure that we have and the people we saw there, the people you saw in the picture, can you really vouch that these people are 18 years? How many minors? The process is ongoing. And we're also working with the police. And they've assured us that when the exercise comes to an end, they are going to update us. Once we have the information, we are going to engage you.
The chairperson of the commission, Dr. Bosman Asare, there.
Yes, Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are coming to you from our studios in Adabraka in Accra. So that's the Electoral Commission giving us an update on the registration so far as conducted since the opening of the registration exercise, where it has asked people who are of age and who do not have voters' cards to register. The EC has set a target, and it says that it has met about 80% of that particular target. So that's just an issue we are looking at. We'll be doing some interviews on this particular subject and other issues, because there's a group of CSOs that wants some of the commissioners of the Electoral Commission out, because they say that they are aligned to the New Patriotic Party. The EC Deputy Chair has been responding to that. We'll be hearing about that. Plus the Ghana card, the requirement of the Ghana card as a sole source or sole document for the registration, which is the campaign the EC has been waging, which campaign has not been successful, at least not for this registration exercise. What is the point that the EC is seeking exactly? That is a conversation we are going to be having. Let's test the issue of the Ghana card, which is what the EC has been asking to be the sole document for registration. It is now having to use the guarantor system where people would have to come and vouch for your qualification, and then you get to go through. The EC says that's really posing a problem because a number of minors have been found to be attempting to be on the register. One of the key opponents of the EC's campaign was the National Democratic Congress, and a key member of the party who has also been taking issue with the approach of the Electoral Commission is a man representing the people of Ningo Pram Pram, who is a member of the Communications Committee of Parliament, Honorable Samuel Nate George. He's joining us on the line now for some analysis of the EC's announcement tonight. Honorable, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you very much, Maro. Good evening, and good evening to our listeners.
Good evening. Indeed, the Electoral Commission is almost trying to say that give its tone back to it, and that what it has been warning against is what is happening now. Minors showing up in all queues across the country seeking to register, and this is because they do not have the Ghana card to verify and authenticate them. We are having to rely on the old system of guarantor, which is proving problematic.
Do you believe the AC?
Go ahead, I'm listening to you.
I'm asking because, first and foremost, we would proceed on the basis to interrogate this if the EC has any credibility. And if Jane Mensah and Bosman Asare have any credibility left in them, but they don't. The claims they made, did they show any proof or any evidence? Did they show you statistics to back their claim that minors are showing up everywhere? I mean, with a greatest of respect, the EC has engaged in a lot of lies and rumor mongering and false disinformation and misinformation. And I mean, would Bosman Asare, when he was a lecturer at the University of Ghana, say that he's going to sanction the stripping naked of all students who came to write his political science exam because 2 students were caught with foreign materials on them? I mean, that's the logic he's espousing. Forgive me, but it's a very stupid logic because it's highly unintelligent. And for people who run our electoral commission, you expect a better level of intelligence and candor from them.
Let me just be sure, because of how people may interpret things. When you use intelligence here, you are not referring to wisdom, correct?
I actually am referring to the dictionary definition of stupid.
But why would you be using that on air, describing other people? I was hoping that's not what you meant.
Why should we have a problem with it? The definition of stupidity is behavior that shows a lack of good sense or judgment. And the definition of stupid is having or showing a great lack of intelligence or common sense. And if you look at what the Electoral Commission of Ghana is doing, led by Jane Mensah and Bosman Asare, it lacks common sense and shows a lack of judgment and a lack of intelligence. In 2019, the Electoral Commission registered 500,000 people, 500,000 in 2019. They used 1,500 centers across the country to register 500,000 people. Then the same Electoral Commission comes to tell you in 2023 that it is going to register 1.35 million people, more than double, almost triple, 260% more. But this time, it is not going to use the same 1,500. It's not going to increase it, but it's actually reducing it to only 268 centers. Does that show you common sense? Does that show you judgment, a sense of judgment or intelligence?
Honorable Sam George. Honorable Sam George. I think my platform is uncomfortable with the use of that word. Could you kindly withdraw that so we can make progress?
Why should I withdraw the fact? No, Umaru, I have asked questions. I'm saying that.
No, I just think that.
The EC. No, Umaru, I'm speaking English. If you can point out what is wrong with what I have said, that the Electoral Commission, the same Electoral Commission registered 500,000 people with 1,500 centers, and now says they are going to register 1.35 million with 268 centers. Is that showing common sense or intelligence? It's a question I'm asking. Leave your listeners to answer it. Except your platform endorses the lack of common sense that is being shown, then take a position as a station.
Honorable Sam George.
Look, we need to be able to...
Honorable Sam George. Honorable
yes?
Sam George.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my big brother. Let's not drag
I know.
this. So please do not... So just withdraw those words so we can...
Unfortunately, I can't withdraw it.
Okay, so let it be on record that we do not approve of your use of those words, and I will not accept that you use them in our subsequent conversations.
It also is going to be put on record that your platform is endorsing the disenfranchisement of Ghanaians.
That's no problem. I
hold the view that what is being done lacks wisdom and intelligence.
I urge you not to repeat that, because if you do, we'll be unable to continue with the conversation. Thank you. Let's talk about the issue of the minors. The only way it can be cured, according to the EC, if we have this legal document that says that the person is 18, which can be proven, there's biometric and all of that. And yet people who are below 18 are being paraded. And because we are relying on a guarantor, these people are entering and going onto the electoral roll. The EC says that is wrong. You are saying that justification of the EC, which is using to support the request or the demand for the Ghana card to be the sole document, is not right.
Umar, how many people have shown up who are minors and it's been proven that they are minors? The EC claims that they've registered 600,000 people. Out of the 600,000 people, how many minors have shown up to be registered? And if the system is such that it is able to detect that they are minors, then it tells you that the system is working. The guarantor system is working. And that the checks and balances put in by the political parties are working. If the minors were slipping through without detection, then you will tell me that there is a problem. But if there is a system that is able to detect it, common sense, once again, will let you know that you don't have a problem. And if you look at the EC's own statistics that they put out, and again, I'm going to reference the EC's own documentation. This is something they put out about a week ago. It said that 62.83% of all the registrants registered using the guarantor system. Only 36.76% of registrants use the Ghana passport, and 0.41% use the Ghana card, and 0.41% use the passport. So let me ask you, is the Electoral Commission saying, is Jim Mensah and Bosman Asari saying, in all wisdom and intelligence, that 62.83% of Ghanaians who are eligible to be registered and given a franchise per the Constitution of Ghana are not deserving, because in their in their own wisdom, those persons cannot be registered if they did not have a guarantor? I mean, where are we going as a country? Look, I will repeat it on your platform, that Jim Mensah and Bosman Asari constitute the biggest threat to Ghana's democracy. And we all have a responsibility, including you, the media, to call them out and demand better of them. Because this democracy is the reason why you are able to sit behind the console and broadcast to the country without fear or favor. If we lose this democracy because of the intransigence and recalcitrance of two individuals to run our democracy down, we will all have questions to answer to generations unborn. Explain to me, Umaru, how a card that has not been handed over to all Ghanaians who are eligible can then be the basis for a proper registration exercise. How wise is that?
The Electoral Commission has set a target, and it says it has met 80% of these targets that is set for itself. And the deadline for registration is still some 3 days or 4 days away. What that means is that those of you who were demanding that the registration centers be opened up do not really have a point, or the EC has been vindicated in its position to limit the limited registration exercise. What do you say to that?
Umaru, like you said, you are my brother, and I know your level of intelligence. I'm a bit disappointed that you regurgitated A very unintelligent position put out by the Electoral Commission. Very unintelligent.
Samuel,
So the Electoral Commission.
hold on. I think we just have to end this conversation.
Umaru, hold on. No, listen.
On condition that you're going to withdraw that word and we can have a conversation.
If you don't let me land, how do you determine whether what I am saying?
I have seen where you started from. You've done enough of it. Honorable Sam George.
The very wise decision of the Electoral Commission. You're happy with that?
That's sarcasm. It's fine. Go ahead.
So the very wise position of the EC that you seem to support says that they've registered 600,000 out of their initial projection of 1.35 million. That is 44%. And they are patting themselves on the back.
It was an initial. It's good you said. It's good you said. No, just a second. You said you have used the word initial projection, which means the projection has been reviewed. You sit in Parliament where government comes with projections every year, which projections are reviewed in mid-year budget. So if the projections are reviewed, the new projection is what you work with. The EC's new projection is what it's working with, and it says it has covered 80%. I'm not sure you are the one who set goals for the EC on how to do its registration. Are you?
Umaru, the government of Ghana comes to Parliament with revisions on the back of empirical evidence. If you look at the Ghana Statistical Service data, Ghana Statistical Service data from the census that was carried out, we should actually have about 1.8 million eligible registrants in this year's registration. 1.8 million. So even the initial estimation of 1.35 is way off 450,000. And this is not my figure. I'm using Ghana Statistical Service. Now, if the EC decides on their own, all-knowing and all-wise, decide to drop from 1.35 to 600,000, and Umaru, you think we don't have a right to question on what basis? On 800,000, we don't have a right to question on what basis the revision was done. Why? Have 400,000 Ghanaians or 550,000 Ghanaians died or evaporated into thin air? On what basis did they reach the 1.35 in the initial instance? How then have they dropped it? This is akin to Bosman Asari students at the University of Ghana writing and sitting an exam, which is supposed to be graded over 100. The student goes in because the student has been very shambolic in his preparation for the exam, scores a 30%. Then the student decides that, look, the grade point, the student, will go onto the system and change the grade point from marking it, weighting that course exam over 100 to weighting it over 50, so that my 30% that I scored over 100 becomes 60%. Would Bosman Asari accept it? If he wouldn't have accepted that as political science lectures, you don't expect us as Ghanaian citizens to accept that level of wisdom and intelligence coming from them. We won't. So you cannot tell me they've achieved 80% of anything, because what they have achieved is 44% of what is even a lower estimation per the Ghana Statistical Service. Can the EC show you what data supports their claim of only 800,000 eligible registrants? And if they show you, ask the EC on what basis they have the initial figure of 1.35. This is the same Electoral Commission that changed the declaration, the results of the 2020 presidential election 6 times. When you have an Electoral Commissioner who is efficient in figures and numbers, you have a problem. You have a problem.
All right.
Because Umaru, don't forget, the budget that was approved for them was on the basis of 1.35 million registrants. That's the budget that was approved for them. Have they refunded to the consolidated fund and the taxpayers of Ghana the excess funds? Because funds was released for them on the basis of the projection. When it comes to Special Budget Committee of Parliament, we ask, before we approve anything, it is based on specific numbers. So tell Bosman Asari and Jean Mensah that they owe the people of Ghana a refund if they have revised down the numbers. Because what Parliament approved for them and what was released to them was to register 1.35 million people. They cannot on their own wake up and say, we'll do 800,000 and spend the same amount of money. They should forget it. We'll hold them accountable to it.
Let's leave it here. Thank you so much. That's Honorable Samuel Nate George, is NDC Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram Pram. Let me just read for you a story published by The Graphic on September 19, 2023 by Timothy Nyengbe on limited voter registration and the EC's explanation for revising the target. And the story says the Electoral Commission has said it does not expect to cover all 1,350,000 persons targeted for registration in the ongoing limited voter registration exercise. The EC said its immediate focus was to register 52% of the targeted population by the end of the 21-day exercise, which started on Tuesday, September 12. The chairperson of the EC, Jean Mensah, who made this known to journalists at the Let the Citizens Know series, said, although the target has been revised downwards, all eligible persons would have the opportunity to be registered before the 2024 general election. Mrs. Mensah explained that the EC would undertake a continuous registration exercise at all its district offices in 2024 for all eligible Ghanaians to be captured in the poll. Again, she said, after the current exercise, there would be a mop-up registration for persons in hard-to-reach areas. The EC started the limited registration exercise on Tuesday, September 12, 2023, in line with Article 45 of the 1992 Constitution. The aim of the limited voter registration exercise is to capture persons who turned 18 years since the last registration in 2020, as well as other eligible persons who had not previously registered with the EC. The voter registration, which is expected to end on October 2nd, is being conducted in the 268 district offices of the Commission across the country. Ahead of the exercise, the Commission had projected to register at least 1,350,000 persons. But providing updates on the registration exercise, the EC chairperson said 182,000 people had registered. So this was as of Saturday, September 16, 2023. Now the EC says the registration total is now 600,000. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. When we come back, we'll hear from the group of CSOs that wants the Electoral Commission commissioners removed or resigning themselves because they are politically tainted. Stay with us.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
You know, Papa, see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, Papa! Bobo, so how's your engine now? It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Quartz and you can feel better energy. Can't touch this. Actually, guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that. Yes, so somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz, and he switched. Sancho Panzapa. Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz? No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer. Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies there improves fuel efficiency. Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation movement World Cup like that? Sorry. Chairman. Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
When shopping for a dress, you say,
of course, a low burst line, a little tight by the hips, covered sleeves, off shoulder, definitely.
But when buying anti-malarial drug, you say,
is it not malaria? Give me whatever is available.
Choose your malaria drugs the same way you choose your dress. Always ask for Coartem. It's also available in cherry-flavored dispersible tablets for children. Don't gamble with malaria. Choose right. Choose Coartem. If symptoms persist after 3 days, consult your doctor. Malaria testing should be done before treatment. This advert is FDA approved.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
You're welcome back. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are coming to you from our studios in Adabraka in Accra. The Electoral Commission has, I think, 7 commissioners and a chairperson, is it? So there are 3. There's a commissioner, chairperson, there are 2 deputies, and then 4 other commissioners. Now, these 4 commissioners were recently appointed. 2 of them, Dr. Peter Piahini and Madam Salima Tijani, are 2 persons who have been a subject of controversy since they were appointed by the president. A number of CSOs, that civil society organizations, have been making calls for these two, first of all, not to be approved, but they have been approved. The president has gone through with their appointment. Now they're asking for them to be removed. That call was renewed today. The group of CSOs that has made this call, we're told the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, the Institute of Democratic Governance, IDEG, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO. They called a press conference or a roundtable discussion and then had that discussion. Let's go on the phone line and understand more what their position is. Dr. Kojo Asante is Director of Research and Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD. Doc, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Good evening, Sanda. Good evening to your listeners.
I recall that this matter, you raised it in the past few months or so. Your calls were not heeded. What new approach are you adopting this time? Are you essentially trying to remind the president and, for that matter, the appointees that they ought not to be there, or you are providing some more information for why they should not be there?
Yeah, thank you very much. So maybe let me give a little context to our meeting today. So this was a meeting of the CSO platform on elections with, CDD, IDEC, and CODEO, collaborating with the larger civil society body to deliberate on some of the observations we have made on elections this year and looking ahead at 2024, what kinds of insights and lessons that we can learn and how we can try to sort of create a much more enabling environment for a peaceful, credible, and transparent election. So there were a number of issues that we addressed. And of course, this was one of the issues that came up in March of this year. And we did hold a press conference then to ask the appointees basically to resign, because the precedent that it was setting was going to create a real problem for the Electoral Commission, and then also create a problem for the perceptions of the Electoral Commission, which can undermine the credibility of the elections. So we thought that we have to repeat that call, because so far nothing has happened. The NDC also did petition the Council of State, and in August the Council of State basically said that this matter was beyond them because it had already been completed by the president. So, but for us, this is a very difficult matter. If we don't find a solution to it, it is going to affect the perceptions of the Electoral Commission, and that would not be good going into the election. So we still have time to try to address it. I think everybody there, all the stakeholders, including the parties, admit and accept that this is a precedent that we should not encourage. It's in the past, yes, there's always been allegations here and there, but when you begin to appoint people who are openly partisan, then you are opening up for a very difficult situation for a body that is supposed to be neutral and is supposed to regulate political parties. If we want to go the party way, then there are models like that where you can have cross-party representation on the Electoral Commission. But we have chosen an independent, impartial, neutral Electoral Commission. So we have to work very hard to stick to that. It has served us well for 30 years, and we have to be very careful that we don't open the door and begin to undermine all that work we have done in the 30 years.
Now, you are actually only then hoping that they step down. Are there no processes that can be triggered by people who feel they are not fit to be in that office? And why are these processes not being triggered? Because it appears you are appealing to their conscience now, but they can't be bothered. And Bosman Asari answered today, and he says that those of you making the calls for the two persons to go should be making that call to the right person. I think it's only fair that I just play that voice. And if you indulge me, let's just hear what Bosman Asari said in response to that issue.
Somebody was asked whether the exercise has been very, very successful. Canada Commission we are talking about. I think CSOs calling on the EC, is this some appointment of commission members? Please, the The Electoral Commission, those who are working as officers, they were appointed by the commission under the leader. Commission members are not appointed by us. The chair didn't appoint them. So please, if you have any concern about the appointment, I think that where the people who appointed them will be the best person. But for we electoral committee, we are doing our work, and so we don't think that anybody's presence has undermined the quality, the integrity, and the transparency of our processes. And we are working well, and everything is going.
So, Doc, that's Bossman Asari. He's with the EC. He says that these persons you have difficulties with have not undermined their work in any way or affected their transparency in any way, and that your lamentations send them to the right quarters. They are fine.
True. I think two issues. So first of all, I think we should really be very careful not to trivialize this matter. You know, when people make the case that, commissioners don't count, ballot papers, they don't influence elections in any way, and therefore, where is the problem? I can tell you, I've been in many elections across Africa, and one of your biggest problems is the trust of the EC, and the trust issues have very little to do with what actually happens on the day of election. It is what people see and believe. And that's why they say that, you have to always be in a position where it's seen, that you are neutral. If you take somebody who is actively a political activist and you go and put them in the Electoral Commission, the person might do his job very well. But in the minds of the citizens who have to legitimize the process, they would always see you as a partisan. And that is something that has to be addressed, because it's not enough that the people there feel that they are going to do an independent job. No, it has to be seen to be done. That independence has to be seen to be done. And it starts from, whether or not they are part of a political party or they are not part of a political party. And this is also, we are talking about a state body whose main purpose is to regulate political competition. So at many, many levels, that apparent bias is not good. It's not even good for Dr. Bossman and the rest, because if that person, there's a feeling that that person is partisan, it then taints the whole Electoral Commission. So I understand where he's saying, yes, we are not asking the chairperson of the EC and Dr. Bossman and Mr. Tete to take any action regarding the two commissioners that have been appointed that we have raised issues with. We are appealing to those individuals themselves. And we have laid the arguments very clearly that this is a precedent that is worrying. And it's a precedent that if we don't find a way to cure it, it opens the door for even more damage. And I don't think we want that. So I really think that we should take it seriously. At least at the room that I was today, everybody takes it very seriously. We don't want to wait and say, I told you so. I think we have a lot of time to try to address it. If we want an independent electoral commission, then we have to make sure that we do create that independent electoral commission. Otherwise, it would undermine our electoral democracy, and which is one of the things that have been going for Ghana for the last 30 years. If we destroy that, trust me, our democracy is very, very vulnerable. So I take his point, but I think that we shouldn't trivialize or, belittle this particular issue. I mean, the other issues to worry about, but I think for me, going to the election in 2024, this matter has to be resolved somehow. And we want to still encourage that appeal process. I don't think we've gotten to the point of any litigation yet. I mean, it's something that CODEO continues to examine if, it comes to that. But I think stakeholders have to come to some consensus that this is not the path we want to go. We don't want tomorrow somebody to go and appoint a general secretary or a national organizer onto the Electoral Commission. Then what are we talking about?
Now, the dilemma that you are faced with is similar to what the NDC is faced with when it comes to the central bank governor. They want the BOG boss out, but removing him It's almost like trying to swallow your Adam's apple. That's the difficulty you have now too, and don't you? Because you are hoping that these two persons would resign voluntarily. But you do know that resigning voluntarily is not something that we see a lot of the times in these parts of our world. If persuasion fails, which has failed so far, what options can you deploy?
Well, I mean, Sandra, first of all, this is not, I mean, I'm one person, and I know you're using it, as a reference, but I'm one person, Kodeo, and all of those who are, addressing this point. We are part of a society. We are part of a system that we are all trying to create a Ghana, a democratic system that is stable, that is without conflict, that is prosperous. So we don't see this as just our verdict. We think the engagement, and that's why we have this engagement, is that we have to come to some common ground about what is it that we desire, and how do we ensure that we can all secure the thing that we desire. Because it's not just my preference or anything like that. If the Electoral Commission is not able to deliver its mandate because of perceptions of bias and trust and so on, we are all at risk. So it's a situation that we prefer that we all come to that conclusion and find the right solution. We will do our best. But yes, if our best fail, we all fail. I don't, in these kinds of conversations, I think it is for all of us to benefit, even for the political parties. I don't think that they want this kind of situation, because then they will damage the democracy project that they have benefited the most in the Fourth Republic. So we will continue to make the appeal, we'll continue to engage. We are starting these conversations because we feel there's time, and hope that we can come to that common ground, realize the pathways that we are taking, and decide that, we go a way that is more secure, is more stable, given the experiences that we have had across the continent.
Thank you for speaking to us. We'll keep watching the space and see what happens. Thank you for speaking to us, Doc.
You're welcome, Santa.
That's Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante. He is with the CDD. He's Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. More when we come back.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Yeah, Charlie, so many vibes na bonten father ma sanaba. Ma many papa nyanum na do for mo fie ni mo akwentum. Hwe bibia anya so amani ska ko fie si fancy da na fie for abefo jawisi no parking. Ebe me Sujai Casa. Thanks to Sukasa, how to nyina atwa. Hwe Sukasa si adan abroni for an affordable luxury homes. All more 2, 3, 4 bedrooms. Where you're fully gated or grants and communities. Or more malls, clubhouse, and all social amenities. Plus 24-hour security. Sound with flexible payments. And yeah, no my dear at Dow Casa. Plus 100% guaranteed cashback. Yes, 100% guaranteed cashback. No quick one-answer stories. Contact Sukasa right now through phone calls or WhatsApp on 030-296-0865 and 055-369-7886. Charlie social media so more, baby. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Sukasa GH. Email Susi at info@sukasa.com.gh. Sukasa, building on trust.
Charlie, the transport business there, when it's nice. But if your driver starts frustrating you, hey, sleepless night too. Ever since Core Fleet Tracking was recommended to me, at the feedback, their service will let you know vehicle location in real time, including speeding, and you can remotely immobilize the vehicle. You will also get real-time fuel information on exact refill volumes and get alerts on fuel theft. Core Fleet will also warn you if your drivers are driving dangerously and alert you on driver fatigue, driver on phone, and driver not wearing seatbelts. Visit www.corefleet.com for more information. That is korfleet.com or call 0532 116 711.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/City97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/City973, and Instagram at instagram.com/City973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Welcome back to Eyewitness News. Let's do some stories now. The Tertiary Education Workers Union of Ghana, TEWU, the Senior Staff Association of the University of Ghana, and the Ghana Association of University Administrators have threatened to withdraw their services across all public universities by October 15 if government fails to restore their withheld allowances. The three unions say since 2022, the government has not fulfilled its part of an MOU that was signed regarding the payment of their car maintenance, off-campus overtime allowances, and the payment of their pension benefits. Addressing a press conference in Accra, the national chairman of Senior Staff Association of the University of Ghana, Isaac Donko, said the government needs to heed to their promise.
We are giving government up to 15th October to restore all these allowances. Our car maintenance allowance, off-campus allowance, our overtimes, and other related allowances by 15th of October. If they fail to restore, we are going to withdraw all our services across all university campuses.
National Chairman of the Senior Staff Association of the University of Ghana, Isaac Donko. Now, the National President of the Association of Administrators, Dr. Beth Ofe-Eku, adding his voice, said the non-payment of these allowances is putting undue hardship on their members.
Reference is made to a Senior Staff Association letter to the Minister of Education and Executive Secretary, Labour Commission on the 23rd of August, in which GTEC was copied, and this said letter sought reasons why the Ministry of Education and GTEC had refused to adhere to the MOU and the directives of the Minister of Finance in the letters dated 5th August and 22nd December, respectively, requesting them to pay the newer rate, the 10.99 letters, as on the vehicle maintenance and off-campus allowances to eligible staff.
National President of the Association of Administrators, Dr. Beth Ofe-Eku.
Let's go to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital now. Yesterday on Eyewitness News, we brought you a story where the Kolebu Teaching Hospital had announced an increase in how much people pay for dialysis. And this had caused uproar, and we spoke to a member of parliament who said what the Kolebu Teaching Hospital was doing was an illegality or an unlawful act. In fact, we saw a notice by the head of the dialysis unit at the hospital disclosing that the cost of the renal dialysis had been increased from 380 cedis to 765 cedis. That was the basis for our story yesterday. Tonight we have the CEO of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital on the line to respond to some of the issues. Dr. Opoku Wari Ampoma is the CEO of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Doc, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you.
Explain to us, because we've seen a statement you issued subsequently. Are you saying that this amount that was posted at the renal unit of your hospital was a figure under consideration because the instruction was clear that it is an increase? You're saying that it was not approved before it was posted for the public to consume?
Yes, unfortunately, that is correct.
How do your departments work under you? Do they take decisions on their own, sometimes without recourse to management? And a decision like this, typically what should have happened?
Yes, okay. So this was a proposal that emanated from the renal dialysis unit, because when we are about to send proposals to Parliament for review, each unit would come out with its input cost. And then this is what is factored into the proposal that is then forwarded to the head of department, then to the director of medical affairs, and then on to the chief executive, who then sits with the central management team to discuss it, review it, and then make sure that there's a reasonable justification for the prices. Then this is then forwarded to Parliament through the Ministry of Health for approval. And in this instance, what happened was that it had reached the head of department level, but somebody from the gun put up this notice. But internally, administratively, when this was noticed, a memo was sent from the Director of Medical Affairs instructing them to take it down and to wait until approval has been granted before instituting these new charges. But unfortunately, because somebody had gone there and taken a photo of it, which then went viral, so it appears as if we are part of it, but it had never been approved in the first place, and so that is the fact.
So whoever is the head of that unit would have been charging these illegal fees from your patients until the time that they were told not to?
So fortunately, this was noticed very quickly. And so when we checked, only about 6 people had, paid this amount. And it's going to be offset because these are patients who are chronic dialysis. So it's going to be offset. So it was picked up very early before it had, many people had, paid this amount. So offset. It has already been internally remedied, and we also looking at. Internally we are looking at what went wrong and how to avoid it next time. So
when you say offset, you mean they will be refunded indirectly?
Exactly, because there are people who are coming for regular sessions, so it's offset against their next session.
I see. But this official who did this unlawful thing, has he been found out or has she been found out?
Yeah, so that's it. We are doing the internal investigation and would find out what exactly happened.
When should we know the conclusion of your investigation?
These are internal investigation. So but
it has gone external now, and you're a public hospital. Yes, but if someone engaged in an unlawful act in a public hospital like yours, the public ought to know, especially if it affects us. And if it's an unlawful act that Parliament has intervened in, we ought to know.
We need to ascertain the facts first. And even in your institution, every institution has got its internal process, which must be exhausted before we put out whatever it is. So allow us to do that.
I see. Very well. So I just wanted to know what timelines you are working with so that we will get to know what you have done in regards to that particular issue.
Yeah, but I think let's focus on the issue at stake, because that is going to now becoming a distraction. The main issue is that...
No, it's not a distraction, dog. It's not a distraction. The distraction is that an officer engages in an act
that officer will be dealt with.
Good. So that's assurance I wanted to know that, okay, you have set up a committee.
Yes, administratively, we are going to go into it. But you want me to give you a specific day and time, and I'm saying that administratively, we are not going to classify. We are going to look into it, and whatever administrative this has to be done will be undertaken. I can give you that assurance.
All right.
But if you want to hold me to a specific date, unfortunately, I cannot give you
No problem. The assurance suffices. Now, talking about the reason they were forced to do what they did, how bad is the situation for departments like that one and perhaps other departments in your hospital? For which reason they are making these demands?
I don't think anybody has been forced to do anything. Somebody jumped the gun. That is what it is. Because not everybody is maybe fully aware of the entire chain of processes that have to happen before a new price is, advertised. So that's what I'm saying, that somebody definitely jumped the gun, and that's why we are looking to that. But it's not that anybody was forced to do anything. I don't think that, because the proposal comes from you, and this is something that we do regularly, routinely. When we are invited to come to Parliament with our revised fees charges, that is how the process works. So each department will generate its input costs, and then the cost build up, and then it is reviewed to make sure that it is reasonable, and then we forward it. But then, in the case of dialysis patients, there's a very peculiar challenge, because this is something that most of people who are on chronic dialysis are on it for the rest of their lives. So it is quite a challenge, and they need it to survive. So for the dialysis unit, the main ethos with which we operate is that we just want to be able to break even and recover a reasonable cost so that the services can be sustained. And the previous charges were set several years ago. And if you recall, in about 10, 15 years ago, when the services were equivalent of about $100 per session, and of course, over the years, we've managed to be able to, progressively bring the price down. So if you take $100 at the moment, you can see what the equivalent in cedi is like. But now, the fee that they are paying now is 380 cedis, which I'm sure you can work the math. But then we know that these figures were set a couple of years ago, and with what has happened with even exchange rate, and since all the inputs are imported, we know that definitely there has to be an adjustment in the price or on the fee. But then, as to the specific number that we are looking at, that is why we have to go through the process, because at each stage, there's scrutiny, there's certification and all that, and look at it. In fact, you may send your figure to Parliament. Parliament may also decide, in its wisdom, to adjust the figures, and so it is only when the process has been terminated that we can come out with the particular figure. But definitely, there has to be an adjustment in the price for us to be able to break even and to be able to provide the service. But of course, we also have to always be sensitive to the challenges that dialysis patients face.
Very well. Before you go, someone has just sent a message saying that a similar thing is happening with your MRI, and that the MRI price has been increased significantly without parliamentary approval. What can you say to that? The people who use MRI are sending messages to us.
Well, if they are not giving me specific numbers, but I can look into it and find out.
Please do. Please do. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Yes, thank you.
That's Dr. Opoku Wariampoma. He is the CEO of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Let's go to the Upper West region now. We have a very disturbing story coming from there. It's on our website and it's filed by our correspondent Latif Mahama. It's in Sisala West, that's Golu, the hometown of Hila Liman. The story is titled Ghana, Burkina Faso security agencies on manhunt for suspected terrorists. The story on citynewsroom.com says a joint security operation conducted by Ghana and Burkina Faso law enforcement agencies is on a manhunt for some persons suspected to be terrorists hiding in Fachu in the Sisala West district. Now, the story continues to say information picked up from the Sisala West District Police Command indicates that the suspected terrorists may have crossed the Burkinabe border into Ghana on Wednesday, September 27 at about 11:45 a.m. That's in the morning. The story, which also has pictures of persons dressed and carrying weapons, continues to say that the hideout of the suspects was raided and items including a Ghanaian voter ID card, 2 mobile phones, an unspecified number of ammunition, clothing, and 8 bicycles, among others, were found. The story also says that a search into the recovered mobile phones revealed pictures of men dressed in terrorist regalia, of which one young man of about 40 years bears the same resemblance to a wanted terrorist in Burkina Faso. The suspected terrorist was identified as Diallo Nufu by Burkina Faso security agencies and had a Ghanaian voter ID card bearing the name Abdullahi Ibrahim. You want to go to our website and read more on that particular story, because the concluding paragraph says the security services in Golu have been notified of this development and are currently conducting patrols intermittently in and around Fachu. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Up next, we have business news. And then on Point Blank, my guest is a member of Parliament for Bolga Central and ranking member on the Finance Committee of Parliament. He has issue with how government is handling the National Investment Bank, NIB. We'll talk to him about that. Please stay.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. Citi Business News. Be informed.
Time now for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News, powered by citibusinessnews.com. My name is Adjoatin Krama Dominale. Settle for the details. And 5 business executives suspected to have breached data protection laws have been arrested by a joint team operation led by the Data Protection Commission and the Ghana Police Service. This comes on the back of the Commission's resumption of its enforcement operations today to clamp down on institutions using personal data of customers without authorization. Now, the suspects were arrested at various spots, including Care Flight Ghana, the Morning Star School, Embassy Gardens, the Akuman branch of Kafam Ghana Limited, and Grace Homeopathic Clinic. Here is the Director of Regulatory Compliance at the Data Commission, Quintin Akrobeto, speaking after the exercise.
For some of the institutions, they haven't registered at all. Even upon several follow-ups that we have done with them, they have failed to register with the Commission. And for those of them that have registered, they are still not compliant because registration under Section 46 is just one aspect of compliance. You need to appoint a supervisor, have them trained and certified to guide you in your compliance journey. But this, some institutions have failed to do. Some of them are equally breaching Section 82, which prohibits conditional requests for personal details for other business purposes. This also we find very, very offending to the provisions of the Act. So we have equally picked institutions in this regard. And this exercise, as we have said, has come to stay. It will continue on a monthly basis, and institutions who are yet to register with the Commission.
Quintin Akroboto is the Director of Regulatory Compliance at the Data Protection Commission. Let's head to the Ashanti region now, and the regional branch of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, has called off its planned protest against the government for what is said were exorbitant charges imposed on its members. This follows a meeting between the association and the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority and other government agencies in the chain on Monday. Members of GUTA in the Ashanti region had planned to close their shops this week due to what they describe as harassment and discrimination by custom officials. Ashanti Regional President of GUTA, Anthony Opon, has been speaking to Citi Business News on the decision to back down.
Met the Commissioner General, Mr. Mishadai, and the Customs General, Mr. Seidu, and the Internal Revenue Board, the TDR, was also present. The results of the meeting, the supposed closure is off for a while. For the meantime, what we were agitating was that we don't see the point. We don't churn out the figures of the duties. They are done by the customs officials. So I don't see the reason why you tell me pay this amount and I pay, and once the goods is cleared, you come and arrest me on the way that the duties that I paid is not enough. I didn't pay them from my own volition. You said I should pay this much and I paid it. So it was a harassment and intimidation, or what we call it, discrimination, and the fact that it was happening only in the Central region here. It was not happening in any other part of the country. So we felt we were being cheated and short-charged. So we felt there was the need for the demonstration. At the meeting, the Commissioner General was there, the head of the Customs was also there, Mr. Sidu, and they all gave us the assurances that henceforth they will make sure because we asked that they should make sure they strengthen their valuation system so that whatever values that will come out from the customs be what they intend to collect, so that they don't come and arrest us on the way that what you paid is insufficient, is enough. Because I believe the customs has been doing this work for a very long time, and they have a way of assessing them. They even have the benchmark values upon which they do. It's not what we tell them that they take. Because sometimes we will tell them, oh, we brought this, we bought it at this price. They say, no, they won't take your figures. And they have their own figures that you use. So if you use your figures to give me the duties and I pay, I don't see the point that you should come and arrest me on the way and tell me the money that I pay was insufficient. I think that was unfair.
Ashanti Regional President of GUTA, Anthony Opon. Now, in a bid to ensure that industrial companies in Ghana improve their energy efficiency and competitiveness in the face of the rising utility cost, the Association of Ghana Industries Energy Service Center has introduced its energy efficiency network established through the support of German agency GIZ. The network will provide a platform for industries in Ghana to reduce energy cost and carbon emissions to enhance their competitiveness within the AFCFTA framework. The network, composed of 12 large industries, will remain operational until December 2025 and will be expanded to cover more companies. Seth Chumakwabwai, CEO of the Association of Ghana Industries.
It's a starting point, and everything you start, as we say, dream big but start small. if you want to bring everybody to a network, it doesn't work that way. Start with a few people who are very committed, who have demonstrated interest to go renewable. And once they do it, become an example to snowball it into other areas. If you remember when I was speaking, I mentioned that the network is starting in Accra, but we have branches, we have sectors across the country. So we'll gradually grow it to other sectors and then to other regions of Ghana as well. So this is just a starting point. We're only starting with a few, but we'll grow to include several others.
You heard Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Ghana Industries, Seth Chuma Kwabwa, and government says it has witnessed some improved results in revenue mobilization following its deepened collaboration with development partners. It says renewed efforts to block loopholes in the tax collection are yielding some fruit for government. The raft of collaborative measures is manifest in fiscal efficiency with regards to the revenue and expenditure to achieve a sound tax to GDP ratio. Here's the Deputy Minister for Finance, John Kuma.
As a ministry in charge of economic development of Ghana, we align with the motto of COVID, raise more, invest better, seen in our collaborative effort to improve the efficiency in the mobilization of our national revenues. It's worth mentioning the complementary support given to the Ghana Revenue Authority through reforms in the exchange of information on request, processes, and the development and subsequent training to expand the scope of tax audits. I would like to highlight also the support we receive for other revenue-boosting reforms in international taxation, which included development of prescriptions to administer double tax treaties through the DTT administration manual, the development of an operational manual. It is also worth noting the introduction of the equity budgeting tool developed by GIZ in approach to analyze the equitable allocation of funds to achieve fiscal transparency, efficiency, and accountability. The ministry was supported to develop the public expenditure tracking system, which is used for tracking and reporting on expenditures.
John Kuma is a Deputy Minister for Finance. Now, steps are being taken to reduce the cost incurred by fintechs in the provision of financial services to customers. The current structure being operated by such emerging technological firms is said not to be flexible enough to ensure their growth. To this end, the Ghana Association of Banks has moved to strengthen the capacities of fintechs to enhance their service delivery. Chief Executive Officer for the association, John Ewa, tells Citi Business News plans are underway to strengthen collaboration between banks and fintechs to maximize output in the digital space.
It is our duty that, most of these fintechs are small businesses, young entrepreneurs. It's our duty to bring them up to speed. Sometimes it may even extend to banks, providing some level of assistance to bring them to the level of compliance that we are, so that as they plug into our network, we are not overexposed because the cyber security considerations at their end is a bit lax. So we are working very well together. Yes, it could be better. Some of them are even now ISO certified. There are others that are in the pipeline. It costs money to do these things.
John Ewa is a Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Association of Banks. And with just 2 days left for Ghana's biggest sporting event, the Citi Business Olympics, we want to tell you about the preparedness of the hundreds of business organizations ready to compete for the bragging rights.
Hey, we are coming, we are coming, we are coming.
Our competitors should be ready. Watch out for us. We are coming to sweep all the trophies. These are but a few of the central messages from organizations ahead of the 2023 edition of the Citi Business Olympics. Well, while some will tap into their experience from their previous participation, others are vowing to make a huge first-time impression. So we wait with bated breath. Expectations are already high going into this weekend's competition.
We've been training for 4 years straight, and we are not we are not just coming to participate. We are taking at least a trophy home. And when we are even losing, we are not losing just like that. We'll go down swinging. Right? So we are ready, we are poised, we want to compete and then win some trophies.
I'm the general manager for Papaya Fast Food. I mean, when it comes to these games or these opportunity, we're able to tell people what is happening, and I think it's a good thing. So last year, before I got to ONE, I was being trained by Ghana's #1 tennis player. Yeah, and this time around, he's left the country. So I'm being trained by the coach of Ghana's #1 player. So you can imagine.
We are participating in all disciplines, and with our football team, we have a touch of Pep Guardiola, we have a touch of Jose Mourinho, and we've consulted Christopher Nimley. So he is our personal trainer. So we have a whole lot of new things. We are going to surprise everybody.
Oh, yes. This year, the City Business Olympics will come off at the Eden High Sports Complex at Wager on Saturday, September 30. The City Business Olympics 2023 is powered by Citi TV with support from Citi FM and proudly sponsored by Lozati Lozenges from Unicom Chemists Limited, EK Brand Consult, Blue Jays Energy Drink, Hollard Insurance, Voltic Ghana Limited, Fanuyogo, and Universal Motors. For more on registration, please call 0205 973 973 or 0558 973 973.
And that report was filed by Neutrality. And that's all for City Business News on Eyewitness News. It was powered by a most comprehensive business website, citybusinessnews.com. My name is Ajwa Tenkrama Domina. Up next is Point Blank.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
You know, Papa, see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, Papa! Papa! Bobo, so how's your engine now? It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Quartz and you can feel better energy. Can't touch this. Tell you guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that? Yes, so somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz, and he switched. Sancho Panza. Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz? No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer. Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies Gear improves fuel efficiency. Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation Movement World Cup like that? Sorry. Chairman. Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
It's the best season of the year, just in some points. Momo Pay or you say Momo app. Send with ease and win big. You be merchant or you be Momo user. Momo season Abanti, send DVR. Send DVR. Momo season Abanti, send DVR. Send DVR.
From now till the end of September, earn points when you download the Momo app and make Momo Pay transactions to a merchant via either the QR code or merchant ID and stand the chance of winning 1,000 Ghana cedis weekly and other amazing prizes. Our merchants are not left out. Receive payment and win. There are lots and lots of exciting prizes to be won. So download the Momo app, transact with Momo Pay, and get rewarded this Momo season. TNCs apply.
MTN.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Ms. Umaru Sandama. Tonight on Point Blank, we're talking about the National Investment Bank. The Member of Parliament for Bolga Central, who is a ranking on the Finance Committee of Parliament, is my guest in studio, the Honorable Isaac Adongo. He has issue, I don't know if it's he or is a minority side, with the government's handling of NIB. I'm confused. BNI is now also called NIB. So you're not referring to the people who catch people along?
The National Investment Bank.
The bank.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm okay. How is Bolga Central?
We are doing well. It's been a while. I saw you roaming around the world.
Oh, I went to chill small.
When I grow, I'll be like you.
Oh, you know, in this, if the things are too hard, you have to run away and then go and chill and come back.
You know me, I've not been a contest, so one in a day.
Hey. Be careful.
Okay. I've taken judicial notice.
How is the registration exercise happening in your constituency? You're monitoring it?
Yeah, it's going well. Initially, we had a few challenges. The numbers were not looking good, but subsequently, I was home. We engaged the stakeholders, and we found some of the bottlenecks, and some additional deployments were made, and they are looking encouraging now.
Great. Let's talk about what is your difficulty with the National Investment Bank?
My difficulty with the National Investment Bank is that the National Investment Bank is our national pride. It's one of those banks that were set up way back in the 1960s and was given quite a clear mandate to provide some scaling up of investment in various sectors of the economy and to contribute towards national development. At the time, we didn't have this universal bank, so it was a specialized development bank, which was the tool, particularly for financing or pre-financing government projects, even before government made money to be able to pay for it. So most of our infrastructure were built by contractors and businessmen who relied on the National Investment Bank. At some point when NIB saw that there was a need to create a niche, particularly in agriculture financing, there was a department that was created within the NIB. And at some point they felt that that was not focused enough. So they created a subsidiary called the Agriculture Development Bank and transferred that department to Agriculture Development Bank to be able to facilitate the investment in agriculture.
So the ADB came out of NIB.
Yes, and that's why I kept saying that no matter how grown and rich a man is, he can never marry his mother. So that is the mother of ADB. It's a sacrilege, an abomination to think that the son now you think is better that he can marry the mother. That can never happen.
How is that happening, and who wants that to happen?
Well, the government have.
First of all, what's the state of the mother? Then we can talk about.
So
the
mother is in difficulty.
That's NIB.
Yes. I better describe the mother's sickness as that of diabetes. The son equally is sick. The ADB itself is sick. It doesn't meet the capital adequacy requirement if you decide to adjust for its risk on the balance sheet.
Let's not go to ADB. Let's deal with NIB first.
Yeah, but they are together.
Okay, I wanted to know what the specific elements of NIB
currently, when there was this recapitalization of the banks, government owns 100% the NIB. Mm-hmm. Everybody capitalized their banks, brought additional capital. Government alone refused to bring capital to capitalize its own bank, which is the National Investment Bank.
And because government is a regulator, government could not shut down its own bank.
Exactly. So it exercised through Bank of Ghana what we call regulatory forbearance, basically looking elsewhere and pretending that you are not seeing whatever is happening.
So it whipped all other banks in line and left its own banks.
And left its own bank. Mm-hmm. And if the purpose for the recapitalization was to create stronger banks, it means that you had allowed NIB not to be strong.
So you're sure that NIB did not recapitalize?
No, NIB did not recapitalize. I remember that at the time they wanted to use GATS to perform some gymnastics, and I took them to court because it was against the Banks and Special Deposits Protection Act 930 of 2016, particularly Section 9D. So I took them to court on that, and they departed from that. There are quite a lot of issues if it comes to GATT and how they finance the other four banks, saddling them with cumulative, not redeemable preference shares. Clearly very illegal. But
so NIB's first crime, recapitalization, did not happen. So the capital ratio is not that good.
It's not good.
Okay, what other problems are there with NIB?
Then government took very opportunistic conduct in relation to NIB. You say you don't have money, but you give loans to them. So you go and give them $500 million in government bonds, and the most valuable asset on the bank, you swap it. You go and take the most valuable asset. I call it asset harvesting. Just go and look for what is best here, and it is the NIB has 24% stake in Nestle Ghana. It is the most valuable asset on the balance sheet. You go and take it and give it debt. Then at some point you come and give them another 80 million debt. You say it's a deposit for equity. You never go through the process to convert it. So your own bank that you don't have money to recapitalize ends up owing you 1.3 billion. And I'm saying, if they owe you 1.3 billion, it is your money, it is your bank. Simply transfer it from an obligation you expect them to pay you back to equity. So right away, you get 1.3 billion in capital.
So you restructured?
You restructured the balance sheet by simply changing the obligations on the balance sheet. When we say you restructure, you are changing the obligations on the balance sheet. So it moves from a debt that the bank has to pay you.
So instead of a debit, it becomes a credit.
Good. But then there's still a debit. There's still a debit because what you gave to it, because they have now given you shares for the 1.3 billion, the 1.3 billion worth of debt still sits on the balance sheet as investment in government bonds. Okay. So if they want more cash, they can go and sell the 1.3 billion government bonds and bring in pure cash of 1.3 billion. They can go and sell the 500 million worth of the 24% Nestle shares, they get in cash of another 500 million. So 1.8 billion cash. Show me any bank in Ghana that has cash sitting there, 1.8 billion. Okay, now those shares were bought for 50 million. So if you sell it for 500 million, it means you've made a profit of how much? 450 million. So that 450 million is capital surplus or capital gains, which goes to increase your capital. So you see the 1.3 billion plus the 450 million, you're already at 1.75 billion.
So what you're saying is that NIB is not in good condition, but it can be brought in a very good condition with just this restructuring.
And the monies are sitting on the balance sheet owed to the owner of the bank.
So the owner decides, has a right to exercise
to decide that pay me my money or I give it to you to capitalize.
Okay, which you are advising that it does.
That is the only option. Because
what has government decided to do instead?
So government is playing a very funny game now. They said they want ADB to come and buy NIB. Now
It's not a merger.
No,
it's an acquisition.
It's an acquisition. Now, even if it's a merger, we'll come to that.
Okay.
If you are going to buy NIB, ADB doesn't have the money. It means that somebody has to give ADB the money.
ADB is also not good.
ADB doesn't even meet the minimum capital adequacy requirement per Basel 2 and 3, which is 13% minimum. They have less than 10%. So ADB itself, like I said, is suffering from some diabetes, some asthma. Now you want to combine asthma with diabetes and produce what kind of a human being? You don't add a bad bank to a bad bank. Never done. A good bank can buy a bad bank, yes, and use its strength to improve that bank. But the conversation is that ADB itself must be treated for its own individual illness. And NIB must be treated for its own individual ailments.
Separately.
If you do that, they will be so healthy, they will not even be interested in coming together.
Okay.
That is what we want us to do. Then, so ADB, ownership of ADB is clear. Bank of Ghana, very conflicted. You own 64% of ADB through your 100% subsidiary called the Financial Investment Trust. Government owns 21% of ADB. And the government, through the investment made by the National Trust Holding Company in Ghana, Amalgamated Trust, owns 11%. So that gives you 96% of government ownership. So it means that technical government is going to give the money to NIB. The money you say you don't have to capitalize your other bank. You give it to ADB, your own bank. Then you pass back and come and buy NIB. When you buy the NIB, the money will be paid to the owner, which is you. Then the next moment, you announce that you no longer own NIB because you have sold it. You sold it to yourself. Where did you get the money from? Who took the money? Why all these complications?
Okay, explain this to me. This thing you've just said, is it something that the government has actually publicized that it intends to do, or this grapevine information that you have picked up?
So one of your sister stations published a disturbing story on ADB acquiring NIB. We have subsequently had conversation with the Commercial Workers Union, and I have documents in my car to the extent that they have written officially to the President of the Republic. They will not write on account of speculations.
Mm-hmm.
They're having some concrete conversations within the leadership of NIB, ADB, and the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance. Those information have filtered back to us. And we are saying that in a country that is struggling to even retain NAPCO jobs, you want to lay people off sustainable jobs? Hell no. And we saw what happened the last time. No, if you decide now that ADB should buy it, and I give the example, Omar, you built a house, you are living there with your family. You go to the bank, take a loan, come and buy your own house. Pay yourself, go and put the money in the bank. The next morning, you come and tell your children, let's go and live in a rented premises because I've sold the house. You sold it to who? Who collected the money? Where did you get the money from? So,
whose interest is going to be served by this cooking that you talked about?
I have my own idea of what's happening. But I just want you to understand that it doesn't make sense introducing these complications in very simple, obvious, and common sense finance decisions can only be for an ulterior motive.
Okay.
To confuse you and I, and in the process, something would happen.
What about NIB is struggling? Yes. What if buying or acquiring NIB by ADB would save NIB and save our money because the bank is about to collapse, another entity? And let's not regard ADB as even government. Let's regard ADB as another entity deciding to acquire this to save us. would that not be a better decision to take than to allow and watch NIB go down?
If it were, we will not be having this conversation. Unfortunately, ADB is not for a private person. It's for the state. And I've given you the shareholding structure, 96% owned by the state. 2, ADB itself doesn't have the money. So the person who has to give the money to ADB to come and buy NIB supposedly to save it is the same person who is refusing to save NIB.
Do you know if the money is going to be given to ADB by government, or ADB is going on the market somewhere, find money and go and use that to acquire?
Which market is that?
Borrow.
Borrow from who?
I don't know.
Go and read Section 90 of the Banks and Special Deposit Taking Institutions Act 930.
They can't.
You cannot use leverage to capitalize a bank.
So the only way for ADB to be able to acquire NIB is if you have government injection.
Exactly. And I'm saying that government already have money. See, if ADB comes to buy NIB, it means that the 1.3 billion will have to be paid to the owner. Who is that person? It's the government. Okay, that debt sitting there has to be paid. Who takes that money? Bank of Ghana or the government of Ghana. And I'm saying that if you have the money to give to somebody to come and buy your own asset, which just doesn't make sense, give it to your bank and save it. And I'm even saying that you don't need to bring the money because you already have money locked up in NIB, which can be redesignated in terms of its NIB's obligation to you, in order that NIB will come out of the hole. And we did the analysis. You could actually raise 2.75 billion from the balance sheet of NIB to clear off the 2.4 billion deficit in capital and leave 350 million, and you are looking for 400 million. So 50 million is left. Just simply ask the Financial Investment Trust to take part of the Financial Stability Fund of 15 billion Bank of Ghana is going to set up to come and put in the NIB.
Why don't you look at it from another angle where you have two vehicles that are about to break down and you decide to remove the ties under one to fix under the other so you can move? Could that not be what the government is doing, that we have two ailing banks, let's save one and kill the other to save this one? Makes sense, doesn't it?
So you have a vehicle, you have two vehicles. The other one, you say the ties is faulty, and I'm showing you a spare tie. You say you don't want the spare tie.
Yeah, because this car,
I'm showing you that there's a spare tie, and that's the 1.3 billion sitting in the bank there. Why are you still interested in buying a new tie? When I'm showing you the spare tie, use a spare tie. You save that bank. Go here, use a spare tie. You save that bank.
So you want tools to be saved?
We have to have two banks. You see,
what if it's becoming a problem? Government has.
It cannot be a problem.
Government has CBG, has GCB, has ADB, NIB. Which other one do we have? These are the ones that government has. Maybe the problems are too many for government.
You have a good example to show. You see, what will happen to ADB and NIB coming together is what happened to CBG. When CBG set up and took the 7 banks, you know the number of branches? There were 190 branches. They immediately prematurely came out and announced that CBG is the second largest bank after GCB in terms of branch network. Today, how many branches do they have? 114. What happened to the 76 branches? What happened to the people who used to work there? What happened to the livelihoods that those branches supported? So clearly, you know that anything, whether a merger or acquisition, will not happen in such a way that the entity will operate 2 universal licenses. It will not happen that 2 financial controllers from ADB, NIB will work together. One will go. It cannot happen that there will be 2 managing directors. It cannot happen that in the small community of Bolga, you are going to have ADB and NIB. One branch will be subsumed by the other. What happens to the workers? So this is a clear, you see, when it happens that way, the landlord, the one who came to buy you, he needs one person to leave the house. Is it the tenant that will leave or the landlord?
So you foresee...
No, I just want to ask you.
So you foresee job losses?
I foresee a shrinking group. I foresee operationally that it is not possible to strategically operate 2 banks alongside and compete against yourself. Operationally and cost-effective wise, you will need to rationalize and calibrate the branches. Because, you see, when CBG did that, initially they were spending 360 million just to run the branches, and it was not sustainable. They had to close them off. So it is obvious that straight away, one of the banks will go, or a combination of the 2 banks will go. Okay. And so we will not have 2 banks as we have today. And I'm saying that in the end, we will be worse off.
So for you, let's keep the two banks so that people don't lose their money, people don't lose their jobs and all of the consequences that you've talked about. Let's go. But you've done a press conference today. You're speaking to me. Who can prevent this chaos from coming into bank? And what would you say to them?
So, fortunately, there is a legal dimension to this. The National Investment Bank was set up by an Act of Parliament, National Investment Bank Act 612. And the Parliament of Ghana knew that there may be extenuating circumstances under which the bank may have to die, and provided under Section 22 of it, the liquidation procedures, that if you want to do anything that will ultimately or affect the life of this bank, you need to come to Parliament for Parliament to pass an act pursuant to that objective and give directives as to how it should be done.
Really?
Now remember, if you come to Parliament, we would open all the options available. Is death the only consequence this bank can suffer? Are there other possibilities and options? And the people of Ghana, in their wisdom who set up the bank, will take an appropriate decision that is consistent with the ultimate objective of Ghana. So and what we decide becomes the mandate.
So it cannot be arbitrary.
No.
It has to come for parliamentary
exactly. So the only way is that Bank of Ghana, National Investment Bank, after having been established by Parliament, went to take a license from the Bank of Ghana and came under the regulatory supervision of Bank of Ghana. The same Parliament has passed a law to say that anybody who takes a license from Bank of Ghana and comes under the regulation of Bank of Ghana can be treated under Act 930. And the options are there. You can put it under administration, and the administration has several angles to lead to an ultimate objective. It is not only collapse. There are several scenarios that administration will lead.
So your intent...
You can then decide to revoke the license and place it under receivership. Under the circumstances, it's quite clear that is not the objective of government. So regulatory powers basically don't apply.
So your intent is to use Parliament to prevent this from happening.
We would use Parliament, we will use the courts of Ghana, we will use every legitimate means to protect the livelihoods of our people.
Honourable Member of Parliament for Bolga Central, Ranking Member on Finance Committee, Isaac Adongo, who takes part in the Bonaboto Games every now and then and wins a papi as a trophy. Thank you for joining me on Point Blank.
Thank you very much, my good brother. But I'm happy you give me this platform because the idea of ADB, NIB is very dear to my heart. There are thousands of workers of these banks and their families who are listening to me today, and they are just praying to God that government should listen. And I hope government does listen.
Thank you so much. So that's a Member of Parliament. My name is Umaru Sandamadu. Production by Kobna Wilson, Beverly London, Sami Wiafe. Technical support from Daniel Squashi. New media support from Edwin Kwakofi. We'll be back tomorrow at 17:30 GMT. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.